your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tim Hayes.
I've been coaching for a long time. This is the best baseball game I think I've ever seen with my own two eyes. I don't know if I've ever seen a team play that well.
Short and sweet. I bet you he wouldn't have said that if they had lost that game last night. Monty Lee from last night, and you know it's still a good quote because the Tigers and Vandy still haven't teed it up yet. As far as I know, we'll check in with K-Mac in just a moment. He drew really the long straw to go up to Clemson today, tonight, and maybe tomorrow morning, the way things are going up there weather-wise. Jarmart was there yesterday for the afternoon game, part of the evening game, then came on back. And the Tigers and Vanderbilt are set to do battle. We're set to do battle at 4 o'clock to settle the Clemson Regional, but the weather has been an issue, so let's go right to Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Kevin McCrary is there. He's been there for many hours, as have others, waiting for this thing to get started. K-Mac, what's the latest?
The latest is the tarp is on the field. The rain is coming down. The fans have been told to seek shelter, and we are a long way away from baseball here at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. It's just kind of been touch and go. The sun was out for a while and looked like they were going to get this thing going. Well after its 4 o'clock scheduled start time, they had a 6 o'clock start, but the tarp never came off and the rains came back, and we are back in this holding pattern. And it looks a little spotty throughout the night. It doesn't ever really clear out of there. So I don't know if they're going to figure this thing out or not, but I don't think it's going to be figured out anytime soon.
Wow. So I know you're not a weatherman, but you did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Is this a case of just a big cell hovering over the upstate in the Clemson area? Is it lightning, rain, wind, the whole deal, or exactly what are you getting?
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of everything, and it's not just one. There's one that'll kind of blow through, and then there's some others that are pushing around, and it's spotty. As I look behind me here, I can see some blue skies and sunshine, but here over the stadium, it's coming down hard. Not as hard now, but periods of very heavy rain, and there is some thunder, there is some lightning, and anytime there's a lightning strike within, I think, 8 to 15 miles of the stadium, that's a 30-minute delay automatically between strikes. So things can add up in a hurry, and of course, when the tarp's on the field, you're looking at 30 to 50 minutes to pull the tarp off and get the field ready. They are still making announcements to fans here to seek shelter and get away from the lightning portion of this cell that's rolling through right now.
All right. You have any idea what start time they're looking at now?
No start time right now. The last one we got was 6. Of course, that didn't happen because we're not playing. I would be surprised if this thing gets started before the end of our show tonight.
All right. What are the pitching plans as you know them?
The pitching plans are right now. Alex Eubanks is slated to get the start for Clemson, and he started on Friday night against UNC Greensboro. Warren, you saw him here.
Yep.
Probably seems like a year ago now, but it was Friday night. He went into the 8th inning, threw 101 pitches, earned the win in that game. He was outstanding, and he'll be back. And I think that might have surprised some people. Monty Lee hinted last night that he bounces back quick. He's one of the quickest healer. That's probably not the right term. He recovers faster than any pitcher on the staff after an outing. So he'll be back, but how long can he go? That remains to be seen, and where they go from there. Crawl would probably be available for an inning or two, but certainly they have some more options with Tyler Jackson having that outstanding outing last night going the distance. But an interesting call for Monty Lee rolling out Eubanks again after starting him Friday night and him going deep into a start Friday night.
Yeah, 101 pitches and 2 days rest. That is very surprising, but they're at that point. They're at that point where they're gonna. If he tells them he feels good and the arm feels okay, I mean, they're going to run him out there and see how long he can go.
I suggest that Monty Lee is in the clubhouse doing a rain dance. It just hold off to Tuesday. Anytime it's delayed by weather or any circumstances, obviously the benefit of coming through the winners bracket as Vandy has done before last night, is to a disadvantage to them. It's an advantage to Clemson if they can get some more rest for their pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I don't think there's any question, Pro, that this has been a benefit for Clemson. They were hanging out at the stadium yesterday all day, but Vanderbilt had to just sit around their hotel room until 10 o'clock, figuring out when they're going to play. And the Tigers have the momentum. They have the home field now, and they have this is home to them. So this is when they're used to their confines and know where they are, and they're in their own dugout tonight as well. Sometimes with these regionals, even though you're the home team, you have to go into the other dugout if you're the visiting team. So the Tigers have all their amenities of home, and I think they certainly have the advantage right now. And if this thing were to get washed out, I'm not saying it will, I think they're going to do anything they can to get it in. I think they'd start this thing at 10 o'clock again if they thought they could get the game in. But if this thing were to get pushed another day, then it's even a bigger advantage for Clemson.
We don't want that to happen because that likely means I got to go up there tomorrow. So we want this sucker played, and we want it played tonight, K-Mac.
Yeah.
Get her done. All right, we'll check back with you in a little bit.
Okay.
K-Mac up at Clemson, waiting as everybody else is. Eubanks the other night, 7 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned runs, struck out 5, walked 1. And so the Tigers, I don't know, man, that's 101 pitches on 2 days rest. You leave yourself open to a lot of criticism from people who watch arms and pitch counts. Now, some people say pitch counts are overrated, that too much emphasis is put on it, that you can't hurt the arm or whatever the case may be. If the arm's going to go, it's going to go whether you've thrown 100 pitches or you've thrown 30 pitches. Mm-hmm. You don't buy that.
Well, no, it's just that some guys could do it. You remember in his glory year, Denny McClain was pitching on looked like 2 or 3 days rest. That's why he was able to win 30-something games. But you would think you're Monty Lee, that you're just trying to see if you can get 3 or 4 innings. I don't think he expects him to go do a root job.
After that, how much do they have left in their bullpen? Pat Krall has already made 2 appearances, mm-hmm. though they have been relatively short. Mm-hmm. You're going to I think Patrick Andrews might have been used up the other day. I'm not sure they can go back to him. Mm-hmm. You're really starting to dig deep in the bullpen, but so is Vanderbilt now.
Yes.
They're both starting to dig deep, even though Clemson's had to play one more game than Vandy. Let me update you on the scoreboard, and we'll take phone calls. Got a lot of things to talk about tonight. I'm not in a very good mood. It's Monday. It's raining. Clemson's delayed. I got a lot of things agitating me that I'll get off my chest tonight. That's the best way to do it. That's a good remedy for me, is just to get it off the chest. Maybe you've got some things you want to get off your chest as well. 800-956-7266 is our number. Florida is leading Bethune-Cookman 3-0, top of the 7th. This is a game to go to the Supers. All of these are except for one, and that's the Dallas Baptist-Virginia game. Dallas Baptist is smoking Virginia 11-3. They're in a delay. Let's see. I can pull this up real quick and see the inning. The winner still has to play TCU and beat TCU twice. Mm-hmm. And they're in the 8th inning there. So Dallas Baptist taking it to Virginia. Let's see what else is done. Sam Houston State won the regional. It's in, defeating Texas Tech today 4-3. Texas A&M won its regional 4-3 over Houston, and that is it as far as what's been completed so far. Florida State, Auburn still to come. Kentucky, NC State still to come. Missouri State, Arkansas coming up. Southern Miss, Mississippi State coming up. So a lot of SEC action out there still to come.
So that's 2 national seeds down, right? Texas Tech and North Carolina.
And I want somebody to explain Davidson, North Carolina, to me. Can you explain that to me? We'll talk about that and other things coming up. Hey, was anybody in Nashville over the weekend and in the same bar as the Ryan brothers were and caught up in that mess? You see that? Yeah, they are just a brawl waiting to happen. They're like, who are those brothers that USC had many years ago, the two defensive linemen that got in fights together all the time down in 5 Points?
Yeah,
remember those guys?
Linebacker, yeah, they used to hit anything that moved, including his teammates.
And one was a defensive lineman. They used to get in all kind of trouble. Well, that's the Ryan brothers, man. They got into it in a bar in Nashville over the weekend.
Off the old block. Buddy Ryan punched the offensive coordinator when he was in Houston.
And I think they were wearing Clemson gear. I'm not making that up. Go look at the video, and somebody else wrote that. I think they were in some Clemson gear as they got into this scuffle in a bar. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Now, let me tell you where we stand. I gave you the score, so here's where we stand in the baseball tournament. Only one super regional matchup has been determined. Who would have thought this? Well, on one side, maybe yes. On the other side, definitely no. Texas A&M and Davidson meeting in one super regional. Davidson going into Chapel Hill and beating North Carolina. So I imagine that Mike Fox is about to get fired.
The number 2 national seed.
I mean, if you lose, of course, in North Carolina, who cares? They're not even aware they had a regional in Chapel Hill, most North Carolina fans. Now, if
Roy Williams knew.
If there was a basketball scrimmage happening across the street, they would have been over there for that. Mike Fox has had a great career at North Carolina. I only jest about his future. His future is that he'll be back at North Carolina. He's been there since '99. Most of the time, he's gone to the tournament, but not every year. He went 2 years and then missed a year. Then went several years in a row, including several World Series. Didn't win a World Series, mind you. Chad Holbrook was an assistant coach on that team as well, as you might remember, but never won it. But still, getting the World Series, of course, is a feather in your cap.
Yes.
But now, 2 years in a row, he missed the tournament, and this year gets eliminated at home to the 4th seed. And so my point is, going back here to the Holbrook deal, and why I don't think a change is required, is that it's the most difficult sport of all to predict at the highest level on an annual basis. Even when you're good year after year, you can fall short in a regional, in a super regional, even in a season. Doesn't mean your program is in the toilet. North Carolina's program is nowhere near the toilet, even though by their standards now and by what their baseball fans would expect, this will be 3 years in a row. They missed it 2 years in a row, and now they go out at home to Davidson, the 4th seed, an in-state school, a private school, a basketball school that doesn't even have big-time football. And they lose in Chapel Hill. And so it's baseball. And so if this were South Carolina, of course, it's already happening with a segment of Gamecock baseball fans who have lost their flipping minds. But, I mean, if that had happened, they'd be burning down Founders Park. And so you look at Chad Holbrook, and this is the beginning of the week to talk about this, because certainly some acknowledgement from Ray Tanner should be coming soon about the future here. He hasn't missed the tournament in consecutive years. He's missed it here. He's missed it there. He's been to 2 supers. He's been to 3 regionals. He's averaged 40 wins a year. His resume, in my eyes, is far strong enough to stay as the head coach at South Carolina. With the class they've got coming in, the players they have returning, you expect that the tables will turn in 2018, and you're going to have a healthy year. After going through all the injuries they had this year, the odds are in your favor. Of course, you can never say for sure, but the odds would certainly be in your favor that you're going to be healthy next year. Look, I was one very early on who said this South Carolina team is destined for Omaha. Destined. I mean, you looked at that pitching. You looked at that closer. You looked at some of the hitters, Destino, and some of the newcomers, Cortez, Olson, Cullen behind the plate, Tolbert, Hopkins. They looked rock solid. But it all came apart. I mean, injury is a big part of it. And so I just think it's ridiculous that we're even having this discussion, that Ray Tanner even has to make any kind of a decision here, as he said at the end of the SEC meetings. What decision? There shouldn't be a decision. The decision should be there's no decision. He's your coach and you move on, unless you just don't like him, unless Holbrook has fallen out of favor with Tanner behind the scenes, which is not what Holbrook said when he met with us the other day. I mean, he adores Tanner, and apparently he says vice versa. So I just don't think changing the coach at South Carolina today is the answer. Well, and I'll feel that even if it happens, I'll think, and then it's a roll of the dice to see what happens with the next guy. And unless you've got a Tim Corbin lined up, ready to come, unless you got a Tim Corbin lined up, ready to come when the season's over. And, Corbin, his wife is a member of the Blott family. He loves the state of South Carolina, loves it. He coached at Presbyterian. Mm-hmm. And, of course, he's a longtime assistant coach at Clemson. He loves the state of South Carolina. He and Ray are friends. They're good friends. They talk a lot. He is 58 years old, but he's in great shape. He's one of those young 58s. But, let's just say that were to happen. Then you're probably looking at another coaching change in 5 or 6 years, because he'll be in his mid-60s. Probably. He doesn't strike me as a type who wants to coach into his, well beyond that. I don't want to speak for him. He's got a game to coach tonight. But, unless you got something like that lined up, then,
he's got
Ray Tanner needs to come out
and say,
Chad Holbrook is my coach. I'm giving him a year extension, no raise. Do the same thing that Radakovich did at Brownell. How does Brownell still have a job at Clemson if Chad Holbrook is, as people want to believe, in front of the firing squad at South Carolina? He's been to one NCAA basketball tournament, and he inherited that team. The teams that he has put together have done nothing except make it to an NIT Final Four. And maybe even, did they make the championship? No, that was Larry that took him to the championship.
Again,
just made it to an NIT.
It goes back to expectations. But you said,
but Radakovich, after meeting with Brownell, I think extended his contract with no raise.
Right.
But I think the understanding is you got to deliver big this year, or that'll be that.
Well, two things here. Let's face it. Basketball is way on the back burner at Clemson, especially when you got a national championship football team. The other is there's not a guy that he wants yet. That's why some people make a decision to stay pat, because, wait a minute, I don't see the guy I want. Again, I think the thing with Chad Holbrook, again, Phil, you said it. You were talking about, and the team on paper, the expectations was it was going to be a great season, and you go to Super Regional in Omaha. And that's what I think gets fans caught up, is expectations. Not so much that this team always should win, but the expectations for this team. But what does Skip Bergman, one of the guys that really is a friend and a mentor to Ray Tanner, the old baseball coach turned AD at LSU, what did he tell Ray before Ray won? Ray, you'll win it when you least expect it. So these expectations can get out of whack, and then the fans get out of whack.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, 800-956-7266. Let's pick up on that topic here coming up after the break. The rest of the winners so far in the tournament, again, only one super is set, A&M and Davidson. Oregon State has advanced, awaiting on Clemson or Vanderbilt. Cal State Fullerton comes out of the Stanford Regional. Louisville comes out of its regional, advancing. Sam Houston State comes out of the Lubbock Regional. Wake Forest came out of its regional, and LSU advanced from its regional. Everything else is being determined tonight and probably into tomorrow. We'll be right back. Why do I feel like I'm in Chicago in the 1930s here, and I'm expecting
A machine gun to come out.
what's his name?
Gun.
Derringer to come. What's his name? Who was the?
Oh, John Dillinger.
John Dillinger, yeah.
No, I was thinking old
Not Al
Scarface coming
Capone.
out.
Yeah.
Al Capone, John Dillinger.
No, well, Capone is a gangster. Dillinger was a bank robber.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and there was also who was the other one? Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah. Expecting a Bonnie and Clyde to pop up here anytime. 800-956-7266. We'll update recruiting. Got a lot of recruiting for you from over the weekend. Of course, USC got the commitment from Roderick from Cane Bay. Good-looking athlete, going to play safety at South Carolina. Things are happening in basketball for USC men and women with potential transfers and a transfer for the women coming in. Sadiq Keita has found a new home. He's going to St. John's after going up there for a visit over the weekend. So the former Gamecock is headed up there. And see what else I wanted to mention to you. Former USC running back David Williams, who had committed publicly to Connecticut as a grad transfer, visited Arkansas over the weekend. According to the Razorbacks 247 Sports site, he is eligible to play right away. And if he goes to Arky, then he'll be back in Columbia October 7th to play against the Gamecocks. So apparently he is not set on going to UConn. Clemson has lost two-year Letterman defensive end Richard Jurgen Jr. for the season. Neck injury in a car accident over the weekend. According to Dabo Sweeney, suffered the same type of injury Mike Williams suffered in 2015 that cost him the season. And he will be fine long-term. He'll miss this season as he recovers. He was a backup for his 2 years at Clemson, 15 tackles as a freshman and 14 tackles last year. His playing time did increase last year, and he was second-team defensive end coming out of the spring with the Tigers this time around. Clemson in basketball is going to play Florida this year. They're going to be playing Florida in the Orange Bowl Basketball Classic, December 16th, BB&T Center in Sunrise, Florida. Florida will play Clemson. Of course, the Gators who made it to the NCAA's Elite Eight, where they lost to South Carolina up at Madison Square Garden, and Clemson coming off a 17-16 season. The other game will be Florida State against Oklahoma State. Mike Boynton and company going up against Florida State. Okay, there you go with that. 800-956-7266 is our phone number here on Sports Talk. Want to mention this. This could have some implications at USC. Thad Matta, well, he said he was stepping down as Ohio State's coach today because of health. He's 49 years old. He's had back issues as a result of surgery. And I think there really is something to do with health there because I think the athletic director there was sick of him. Gene Smith.
Oh, man.
That's an old line. Come on, you've heard that many times over the years. But it's a good line. That's an old Frank Howard line. Anyway, Smith was a little more direct. He cited poor recruiting this offseason as the motivation for approaching Matta last Friday about making a change. He said that the two agreed it was time. And here is something that is added to my salty mood today. This paragraph. This is on CBSSports.com. This little paragraph. So it reads like this: as they're explaining why they're firing Thad Matta, or he agreed to retire. Smith said Matta agreed it was time. The Buckeyes, thanks to players leaving the program and subpar recruiting, are projected to miss the NCAA tournament next season. Now, here it is. What month are we in? It's June. They don't tip it off till November. And as part of the rationale in this person's mind they're using a projection that Ohio State's not going to make the tournament. So
You never know.
why even play the season then? I mean, if that's part of the thinking that Gene Smith, the Ohio State people had, well, we're not – they're saying we're not going to make the tournament, Thad, for the third straight year. We know for a fact that you missed it each of the last 2 years. That's a fact. That can't be argued. Now it's being projected that you're not going to make it this year. We can't take the chance. You see my point?
Yeah.
Somebody has projected that Ohio State, for whatever reason, is not going to – and they might not. But funny things happen all the time. Who projected South Carolina into the Final Four? Let me tell you who did. Nobody. So my point is, if that's part of their argument for changing coaches at Ohio State, that's pretty daggone bogus. But back to Ohio State.
Yeah.
Dave Dickerson, the assistant head coach there, the South Carolina native, who was interviewed a couple of times, came to Columbia a couple of times last year when Frank Martin had an opening. Or was that 2 years ago?
That's 2 years ago.
Was that 2 years ago when Brad Underwood left?
Yeah.
Why am I thinking? Okay. Whenever the last opening was.
It must have been 3 years.
It's been more recent than that.
Yeah.
Who else did he lose off the staff? He lost Underwood. It's been more recent than that.
And the guy that went with Underwood. No, the guy that went to Underwood to Oklahoma State. The other assistant, the one that Shingler replaced.
Exactly. When they were looking to fill the job that Shingler was hired for, he was going after Dave Dickerson.
Right.
Which was just last year, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway, the point is Dave Dickerson now is out of a job. And you wonder if, Frank Martin has not filled the spots yet. And you know how it is in coaching circles. They kind of know things that are coming. You wonder, at least I wonder, maybe nobody else is wondering. I wonder if Martin's been sitting on this, waiting for this to happen, and now he goes back to Dickerson. Because he likes Dickerson, and Dickerson's a South Carolina native. He needs a job. And he, by all accounts, is an excellent recruiter and an excellent coach. And he's got head coaching experience. It'd be a great hire, the way I look at it.
And his wife is from Charleston.
Be a great hire if that's indeed on the table. Why is Martin still? Why is he still? He said the other day at the SEC meetings he was getting close to somebody. He had somebody, I guess, at the top of his list. I just have a hunch. It makes sense.
It does. The timing makes a lot of sense, and at time makes more sense that Shingler's been hired, because remember the first excuse. The first excuse is, well, some people. Well, Dave is close to about 50 or 51. Don't they need a younger assistant in there? Well, that excuse is gone because Shingler's there.
Yeah.
And so now, and let's face it, I thought Dave Dickerson got a raw deal at Tulane. I mean, he took the job, and one of his first things he had to do once he brought his recruits in was to tell them to turn around, because here comes the big blow came.
Yeah.
Katrina. And so from then on, he had to rebuild the program again from Katrina. So I thought he had a raw deal.
Some of the names being thrown out there already at Ohio State: Chris Mack, Xavier.
He's not leaving Xavier.
Butler's Chris Holtman. Here's Greg Marshall. Would Greg Marshall leave Wichita for Ohio? Didn't he just sign a new deal at Wichita State, I think?
Yes, he did.
They even throw Billy Donovan's name out there.
I knew that was coming.
Why don't you throw Red Auerbach's name out there? Maybe you can get Red. Why don't you?
He's busy.
Get Red Holtzman. Throw Red Holtzman. Phil Jackson. We're breaking it here on Sports Talk. Phil Jackson is a candidate for the head coaching job at Ohio State. Okay, let's throw that out there and see if that sticks. Okay, we got recruiting coming up after the break, and got a lot of recruiting to come your way. Stay tuned for that. We'll fill you in on everything. Florida and Bethune-Cookman, they're in the top of the 8th. Florida is the visiting team, leading 4-1. Still in a rain delay up at Clemson. That could be into who knows how long tonight before they get rolling. And they're still in a rain delay, Dallas Baptist in Virginia, but that game's practically over, 11-3. DB. What is their nickname, the DB? Dallas Baptist. Have any idea?
No idea.
Yeah. All right, we'll be right back. All right, 800-956-7266 is the phone number. We'll get to recruiting here in a couple of minutes. Got a lot to go over from the weekend. We, of course, mentioned USC's commitment, USC opening camp over the weekend. Several people to talk about who visited, things happening on the basketball front. Clemson begins via Dabo Swinney camps for this week tomorrow, and the Tigers will have prospects shuffling in and out of there over the next several days. We'll stay on top of that as well. 800-956-7266. Let's jump to some phone calls. We'll get to recruiting, talk a little college baseball, talk NBA finals if you like, talk about Chad Holbrook and Ray Tanner and what's going to happen there. Should it already be done one way or the other? What's the delay? What's the holdup here? It can't take this long. I mean, heck, fire. It's been over a week now since the season ended for South Carolina. I know Tanner was down at the SEC meetings, but he's no dummy. He knows everything that's happening with that baseball program. You know that, inside and out. He knows what's going on. I don't know. It's when you're talking about somebody's job, I guess, which you really shouldn't be in this particular case. But if you are, then I guess maybe you're consulting with people. Maybe you're checking to see who would be available. You don't want to make a move unless you've got somebody ready to go that you really, really want. But it's sort of like, come on already. I mean, the coaching staff's been out recruiting. You would think that you wouldn't send your guys out recruiting if you're going to make a change. I mean, that's not a good way to handle things. 800-956-7266. Let's go to Delvin up in Fountain Inn. Hello, Delvin. Welcome into Sports Talk.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Hey, we're doing great. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Couple things. First of all, with Dave Dixon, don't forget, I don't know if this is happening now, but don't forget the Clemson job still open, too. Might want to let go, so you never know. That could be something that Brad Barnell look at. You never know. But
I think he is you're right. Yeah, that job is open, too. You got to really need a job or want a job to go there because it might be a one-year stop. I mean, you got to be real. It might just be a one-year stop.
Yeah. As far as Clemson baseball, I see it like this. I think you're gonna see like a lot of bullpen work tonight from both teams because, they pitching this shot. So I think you're gonna see like a whole lot of bullpen. So you might see a lot of runs tonight. And I'll let y'all take that out there as I take my call.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of runs all over college baseball as we get to the end of this thing because people are running out of pitching everywhere. They've resumed the Dallas Baptist Virginia game 11-3. Florida's up 5-1, bottom of the eighth. A couple of 4-3 games here. Houston and Texas A&M. A&M winning 4-3. Sam Houston State over Texas Tech 4-3. So Texas Tech did have 12 hits, but not the high run production there as you might expect, but it could be. And you're going deep into your bullpen, but you never know who's going to give you a great outing. How about Tyler Jackson last night?
Right.
Nobody saw that coming, even though he'd won 8 games already, mostly during the midweek. Nobody saw that. Just like last year with Tyler Johnson from USC. Tyler Jackson, Tyler Johnson. Tyler Johnson stepped in, gave USC a complete game last year in the regional, if I remember correctly. It was outstanding. When he'd been the closer or out of the bullpen, you didn't see that coming. So you just never know. Maybe Eubanks is going to give Clemson one of those great pitching outings tonight, and it'll be a low-scoring game. But chances are, of course, if it's humid, the ball's not flying out as much. That too could affect the run production. To Glenn in North Charleston. Glenn, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
How are you doing?
Good.
I hope you feel better of your whatever's making you have a bad day.
No, I'm only halfway through. I haven't gotten to everything yet.
Well, I got good news for you. Nike ain't dumb enough to do the deal that shoe guy, whatever his name was, to put one endorsement.
Yeah.
Some kind of confusion there.
Yeah.
Nike said, I believe they would say no.
You're talking about Lonzo Ball and his crazy father and all that kind of stuff? Yeah.
Yeah,
they're not going to – I mean, there's plenty of other fish out there that they can give their money to without getting into billions of dollars in debt. by going with an unproven rookie like this, who is indeed an unproven rookie. All right, thank you. 800-956-7266. Yeah, the other thing that got under my skin that I read over the weekend. Do I seem ultra sensitive to you?
No.
Yeah.
Want to remind people,
Well, don't interrupt I'm about to spew something and you're interrupting. You're changing, you're moving in another direction.
We just want to remind people that, Jimmy Johnson, NASCAR, you don't think about guys having skin cancer on the shoulder, but he had to have that removed today.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but why are you bringing that up now?
Because it seems that you have a growth that you need removed also.
All right, let's stay between the white lines here, Pro. Let's try and stay focused for at least 2 hours so we can move forward. I'm not going to say this person's name because I've always liked his writing. I don't know him personally. But I've liked his writing. But he is a recruiting guy working, covering a particular team for a national outlet, primarily in the Southeast, a team he covers in the SEC. And I just saw this, and it just drives me crazy because too many of these guys who work for the websites and these networks, they want to become part of the story. They want to be involved. They want to be friends with these teenagers and in some cases influence them toward their decision. There's no doubt about that. And this particular guy, I just saw him tweet to a recruit about his happy birthday. Yeah. I hope you have a happy birthday. And also I think he said something about how outstanding he was at the camp of the school that he covers. This was all in the tweet. And I mean, I threw up in my mouth. That's how disgusted I was. It was terrible. And I'm like, and the people he writes for is a very reputable media organization, which I'm a little surprised, unless they kind of say, hey, it's recruiting, just let all things go. But that's the kind of stuff you see out there in recruiting that is what made it's made recruiting the mess that it is in terms of too many people involved in the process. It's not enough that you got the kid and his parents and his family and his high school coach, and really that should be about it. Okay, but now you got people reporting on recruiting, trying to get in there and twist a guy one way or the other to the benefit of the school that he's covering. That grates on my nerves, to be honest with you. And this guy should know better than that, I think. But anyway, that's the end of my ranting tonight. I am going to go back to and rant. I brought this up on Friday night, the SEC rule change. This really
help out Florida.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now that it's, I guess, pretty much official that Malik Zaire is going to go to Florida and compete for the quarterback's job, as this rule was changed for everybody. It affects everybody in the league, but the team it affects right now is Florida.
One of your big dogs.
And so how can you do something that helps a school out that has already broken the rule, but didn't break the rule, but didn't live up to the spirit of the rule twice? They had 2 grad transfers come in who did not complete the academic work, which tells me they're only interested in getting the use of the kid for that season and then bon voyage. Feed them to the Gators.
In Florida, you're desperate. They're trying to see a quarterback that can throw a forward pass.
Well, they've got a redshirt freshman who's very highly talented, Felipe Franks. Now he's a redshirt freshman. He's never played before. I'm not sure Zaire is going to be the answer to their prayers there, but I mean, back to the SEC, and I look at it from South Carolina's standpoint, which is what I was bringing up on Friday night. Well, what about us if you're South Carolina? I mean, how many times did you block us on transfers because of rules that were in place? There was no relief given then to us and the entire league. It would have benefited the entire league, but USC right away didn't happen. Back in a moment. All right. Let's see. I did that. Let's see if I still have the one from yesterday in here that I can listen to and see where I left off. All right, I don't see it. Okay, here we go. Where's that story on that big lineman? Oh, here we go. All right, here we go. Hang on a second. Okay. This is a transfer. This Tia Cooper, guard, transferring to USC from Tennessee. How many years is she at Tennessee?
She has 2 years eligibility.
Okay. I may have a couple of stops and starts here as I try to piece this together. Here we go. In 3. Could you kill your mic so I can get that fan on my headset? Thank you. In 3, 2, 1. Junior college All-American offensive lineman Damian Lewis of Northwest Mississippi Junior College made an official visit to USC over the weekend. He met up with Will Muschamp and offensive line coach Eric Wolford. He's very interested in USC, but he wants to consider in 3, 2, 1. Junior college All-American offensive lineman Damian Lewis of Northwest Mississippi Junior College made an official visit to USC over the weekend where he met up with Will Muschamp and offensive line coach Eric Wolford. He's highly interested in the Gamecocks, but he plans to take more offers, including Ole Miss and Memphis this coming weekend unofficially. He's also looking at offers from Kentucky, West Virginia, Colorado State, Houston, Troy, and others. All right, pick it up here. 3, 2, 1. Clemson's offered defensive back Quindarius Monday of Atlanta. Some of his other offers are Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Alabama, and Georgia. And pick it up here. In 3, 2, 1. In basketball, 6'5" grad transfer Brandon Alston of Lehigh plans to take an official visit to USC this coming weekend. And USC women's coach Dawn Staley has landed a pick it up again. 3, 2, 1. And USC women's coach Dawn Staley has landed a transfer commitment. Transfer. One more time in 3, 2, 1. And the USC women are getting a transfer in all SEC freshmen. Set out last season. Okay. Coming in 3, 2, 1. And the USC women are getting a transfer in guard Tia Cooper, who was all SEC as a freshman at Tennessee 2 years ago. She missed all of last season with a torn ACL. Phil Kornbluth, South Carolina, Radio Network Sports. And the USC women are getting a transfer in guard Tia Cooper, who was all SEC as in Coach Dawn Staley has landed a transfer. Pick it up again. Visit to USC this coming weekend. And USC women's coach Dawn Staley has landed. And the USC women are getting a in basketball 6'5" are Auburn, Florida, Florida State. In basketball 6'5" grad transfer. Clemson's offered defensive back Quindarius, West Virginia, Colorado State, Houston, Troy, and others. Clemson's offered defensive back Quindarius. Junior college All-American offensive lineman Damian. Junior college All-American offensive. Well, now how could this girl transfer from one SEC school to another? She got a. It is 54 seconds. No blocks? No. How long is it? 54.
Remember, the year before, they got the transfer. The great girl came to Tennessee.
No, Georgia, wasn't it?
No, it was It was 2 transfers. You had Gray and you had the other one. One came to Tennessee.
You got to cut.
6-1. Florida.
Why don't you go back to Quindarius Monday and cut out the other offers that I gave? That should do it.
Behind you. Yeah, somebody left a bat down there. He could have killed himself. He slid into the bat.
Eric Wolford, but he plans to take more get offers from Kentucky, West Virginia, Colorado State, Houston, Troy, and others. Queen Tabby. Clemson's offered defensive back Quindarius Monday of Alabama and Georgia. In basketball, Auburn, Florida, defensive back Quindarius Monday of Atlanta. Some of his other offers are Auburn, Florida. Monday of Atlanta. In basketball, 6'5" grad transfer Brandon Austin.
Auburn and Florida State. They say some big schools may be looking at him already.
Who's that?
Doing recruitment school.
South Carolina. Maybe that's what Ray's waiting on.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Welcome back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Monday from a stormy capital city. I think it's pretty much storming over much of the state, including the upstate, which has left us all in a bit of a bad mood because we're waiting on this Clemson game to get underway. They are still on hold. Florida State and Auburn now underway. They're scoreless in the top of the first. Florida's on the way to its win tonight, now leading Bethune-Cookman 6-1. Let's go up to Doug Kingsmore, find out the latest from KMAC on when we're going to play ball.
Well, I don't know when. That's the answer to that question. The tarp is still on the field here at Doug Kingsmore. The sun is out, actually, and the rain has stopped for the time being. There's actually a few players out there. I don't know who they are because they're just wearing their orange shirts and khaki shorts and tennis shoes, but they set out a cup in right field, and they have a pitching wedge, and they're pitching some golf balls out there in the right field to see who can get it closest to the cup. So they're trying to find ways to kill time. Some bandy players are warming up or just throwing in front of their dugout, playing a little catch, and nothing serious happening, though, because the tarp is still on the field, and there has been no announcement for when this game will start. I don't see any scenario where it starts before 8 o'clock, but maybe with the rain at least stopping, we have a chance to get a little bit of baseball in here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, let's hope so. NC State and Kentucky also in a rain delay. Now, I can remember years ago covering a regional up there at Clemson, and they were using Jervey Gym, as they are for this as well, to house the media, and we had a very nice game of half rubber in there for much of an afternoon waiting on the storms to move out. What are you guys doing to stay busy?
We are just we're eating a lot of food. We are we're not playing any fun games yet. We haven't hit that delirious stage. We're sharing our pet peeves with each other, just getting to know each other a little bit better here in the press box.
Bonding.
Half the people in the Clemson press box here have blocked me on Twitter and don't really like me very much, so I have to be careful who I talk to.
Well, maybe you can take this opportunity
a boot to the head.
You can take this opportunity to reverse that. Now, do you even know what a half rubber is?
No.
Okay.
See, I just punched David Hood, by the way.
You know what half rubber is.
I had an idea, but I don't want to say what I thought it was.
Half rubber, you take a rubber ball and you cut it in half, and you use a broomstick or whatever. It's like baseball using half of a rubber ball, and when you pitch it, you go sidearm with it, and the ball goes up, down, all kind of. It's like a knuckleball, and you try to hit it, and you play a little baseball game with it.
You seem like you.
I was quite good at that, by the way, in case you're wondering.
You ruin a perfectly good rubber ball to play wiffle ball.
K-Mac, have fun up there, my man. We couldn't have a finer person up there to cover this event.
Yeah, really excited about this one.
All right, man. Take care.
Because if it continues, you'll be up there tomorrow night.
That's why I am praying. I am on my knees praying that they get that game in tonight. There is no reason why you can't wait till 10 o'clock, midnight, as long as it takes. Clemson, as you know, is not a heavy populated area. And all the students are gone right now, except for the athletes that are hanging around. So you're not going to be disturbing many people if you play well into midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., just like you did last night. So hang in there, people. Andy Solomon is the NCAA representative in charge. He'll make a Solomon-like decision when the time comes.
Okay.
I assure you. Let me get to recruiting because we got a lot. R.J. Roderick committed to USC on Saturday after attending the camp. He's out of Cane Bay, 6'1", 205, recruited as a safety, though some schools liked him as a running back. Some saw him as a quarterback. Gamecock's 7th commitment for the class was offered back in mid-April. USC immediately moved to the top of his list and stayed there, nearly committed on a visit in late April, decided to hold off then until he talked more with his family. He also wanted his sisters from Atlanta to see the campus, and they were there with his older brother for the visit on Saturday. So for him, it's just a really good fit. He likes Muschamp, likes what they're doing, thinks he could play dime, nickel, as well as safety. They like his versatility. He'll be an early graduate. North Carolina, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, NC State, East Carolina, Virginia among his offers, and Clemson was showing interest. They liked him as a running back. Last season, 1,778 yards and 23 touchdowns. Also at USC over the weekend, offensive lineman Damian Lewis, 6'3", 325, Northwest Mississippi Junior College. Freshman All-American last year as a starter. Out of Canton, Mississippi. Did not sign with a college out of high school. He is on track to graduate in December. Will have 3 years to play 2 at his next school, which he will choose after his season. USC has offered, he said. And they liked him on film. He said the official visit was very good over the weekend. Got a chance to meet with Muschamp in person for the first time. Likes him. Likes Eric Wolford. And they like him as a guard, by the way, a 325-pound guard. He also has offers from Ole Miss, Memphis, Kentucky, West Virginia, FAU, Colorado State, UAB, Houston, Southern Miss, Troy, and others. He plans to visit Ole Miss and Memphis this coming weekend unofficially. And he said he likes USC, but still considers all the schools to be in the mix at this time. Defensive lineman Jabari Ellis from Georgia Military Junior College was at USC to work out at the camp on Saturday. And the Gamecocks have been his top school over a field that primarily consists of NC State and Colorado at this point. And he enjoyed talking with Muschamp and Thompson and getting the feel that he's very important to them and high up on their board. So he said that meant a lot to him. He went through some drills, he said, and he did well in front of the coaches. He said USC still leads, but he wants to visit NC State this weekend before clarifying things in his mind. He also plans to visit in the month. Defensive end Trajan Jeffcoat of Irmo was at USC Saturday working out in hopes of landing an offer. It did not happen, but the coaches told him they like what they're seeing in him and his progress and to just continue working and getting better. He said he was disappointed not getting the offer. He thinks he performed well, and he just knows it's a long process. He might go to Clemson Wednesday for the camp there, but he has some ACT study work scheduled for that day, so he's not sure. He does have an offer from Missouri. He hears from the Tigers daily. He said Maryland appears close to offer as well. He also has offers from Colorado State, Indiana, and Middle Tennessee. Clemson, Friday night, offered defensive back Quindarius Monday, 6'3", 175 Atlanta. He also has offers from Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Oregon, Oklahoma, Michigan, and others. He said that he's always loved Clemson. He likes how the defense is hungry, and he is supposed to be visiting Clemson soon. No favorites. Tight end Brandon Shelnut, Lawrenceville, Georgia, was at USC's camp Saturday, but only as an observer. Got an injury, so he didn't work out. But he toured the campus, spent a lot of time with Pat Washington, and they want him back for their camp on the 21st. And he loves the facility plans they have at USC. Said it was well worth the trip. He has an offer from South Florida. He'll visit there this week. He also plans to visit other SEC and ACC schools this summer. He also has offers from Georgia State, FIU, Tennessee, Chattanooga, Mercer, and Jacksonville State. Offensive lineman Austin Donaldson, 6'4", 310, Stockbridge, Georgia, is going to use camps this summer to earn, he hopes, major offers. Right now he has West Georgia, Citadel, and Buffalo. He plans to visit USC this month and try and impress the Gamecocks to earn an offer there. Defensive back Leon O'Neal, Cypress Springs, Texas, who had Clemson on his short list, committed to Texas A&M. USC target, offensive lineman Warren Erickson, Duluth, Georgia, committed to Georgia on Friday night. All right, we got some recruiting news in basketball to come your way after the break, plus more of your calls, 800-956-7266. Back in a moment.
out.
All right, let me wrap up the recruiting here on Sports Talk on this Monday night. Shifting gears to hoops. Lehigh grad transfer Brandon Alston tweeted out that he's going to visit USC this coming weekend. He's a 6'5" player who averaged about 7 points, 2 rebounds per game last year, starting the final 10 games. And so here's a guy who's trying to move up to the next level, higher level of basketball, and he's looking at South Carolina. According to Jesse Dougherty of the Washington Post, USC offered 6'8" Jermaine Harris of Upper Marlboro, Maryland. He also has Maryland, West Virginia, Virginia Tech, Cincinnati, DePaul, Pitt, Xavier, and Georgetown. USC women today, the recipients of what appears to be a huge transfer from Tennessee, Tia Cooper, 5'8", all-SEC freshman 2 years ago, missed last season, torn ACL in summer workouts. Will have to sit out this coming season. Will have 2 years to play. She was high school All-American out of McEachern, Georgia, Powder Springs, Georgia, McEachern High School. Originally committed to North Carolina out of high school. So she averaged about 9 points per game as a freshman at Tennessee. And she's headed to play for the USC women. And that's a good pickup there. The USC women also were in the top 10 with a high schooler, 5'8", Joanne Allen Taylor of Houston. The others in her top 10 pro, can you name them?
No.
Washington, Alabama, Mississippi State,
Texas A&M,
SMU, Kansas, TCU, Georgia Tech, LSU, and Texas Longhorns.
No Texas A&M.
No Texas A&M.
That's interesting.
Yeah. All right, there we go with recruiting for now. We, of course, will update and pass along things to you. Oh, at USC today, one more note here. As he had planned to do and scheduled to do, USC played host today to the big defensive end out of Florence and out of California. I've said it so many times now. It's
you might mean a JUCO.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, suffering from a little bit of a brain drain,
amnesia,
right here. Yeah, it's gonna come to me in a second. It's gonna come to me in a second.
Well, why are you looking at that? Thad Motta, you said was
Dorian Gerald.
Okay.
Dorian Gerald. Sorry about that. Just couldn't come up with it off the top of my head. Dorian Gerald was in for a visit with his mom over at USC today. Now go ahead.
No, I was about to say it was just popping in my head because you mentioned it earlier that, well, maybe the timing is right for Dave Dickerson. If I'm not mistaken, Dave Dickerson recruited Steve Blake when Steve Blake was playing high school ball in Miami for a coach named Frank Martin.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently, yeah, I guess they've run into each other on the recruiting trail.
Well, I think it makes sense to me. Not saying that's the deal, but it certainly makes sense to me that this could come down. The timing,
yes,
it just seems suspiciously possible to me. Let me update scores, and we'll get back to your phone calls. 800-956-7266. It's a Southern Miss 1-0 over Mississippi State, bottom 2. Missouri State, Arkansas scoreless, top of 2. Florida State 2-0 over Auburn, bottom 1. Clemson Vandy still in a delay. Dallas Baptist has finished off Virginia. Virginia made a run at him in the last 2 innings, 11-8.
Wow.
The final score. It was what, 11-1? Then they had the delay.
11-3.
And Virginia, let's see what they did here down the stretch to make this thing tighter than it was. Florida has beaten Bethune-Cookman 6-1 to advance to the Supers. And I'm waiting for this game tracker to pop up here. Here we go. Virginia scored 5 in the 9th to make it 11-8. But how about that? Virginia's out. North Carolina's out. Clemson's teetering. They could advance. They could be out.
Tech is out.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the ACC. Yeah. All right, back to the phones. It's it's Cockett. Why do you keep telling me the wrong name for him? It's Cockett in Columbia. What's up?
Oh man, everybody know me by Speedy.
Who does? I don't know anybody that
because,
knows you as Speedy.
yes, everybody knows me by Speedy. I can take you just about every bar in about 13 counties in South Carolina and know who Speedy is. So, but yeah, Phil, I just want to get your opinion on this, along with you and the pro. Maybe somebody have already challenged it. I don't know if they have challenged it in front of court, but maybe they need to challenge it in front of court. When you got a student athlete and he's committed, say if a coach like Will Muschamp, who promised his former Gamecock football player who's supposed to have $1 million draft with the Major League Ball club and everything, and all of a sudden he didn't have a really successful year, and things starting to go bad, and all of a sudden you dump him, and the kid wants to get a transfer, or just say the coach decided to leave for a better job or more money. Why the NCAA don't make a rule where that the student athlete could transfer to any college they want to and not set out a year?
Because in their opinion, that's not in their best interests.
Okay.
But I hear what you're saying. You know, there's
Okay.
there's some isolated cases. There are individual cases out there where the kid's really getting a raw deal.
And they get an
Yeah.
automatic release.
There's no doubt. There are
Yeah.
no. They don't get an automatic release.
Yeah,
I mean, the
but
schools
some
have all the
do.
power. Well,
Yeah.
very few do.
Oh,
But
yeah.
here's my point. There are some
Yeah.
out there who get a raw deal and deserve like this poor girl who's transferring to South
Yeah.
Carolina. Why?
Uh-huh.
And she's already had to sit out a year with a bad knee. Now she's got to sit out another year as a transfer. I mean, why not just let her play? You know, and I'm not saying
Yeah.
that's because of South Carolina. If she had transferred from Tennessee to Duke,
Yeah.
you know, she's already sat out a year with a horrific knee injury. She's rehabbed that. Why not let her play? But here's why that rule is in place. The fear is if you do not transferring, it will be outright chaos. You think it's chaos now with transferring? Take that rule away with no penalty, and you might have right now. You got 700 plus basketball transfers in any given offseason. That might double or triple if there weren't any kind of penalty to hold somebody in place.
And the one thing I will tell you, I would tell you this, Cockett. One of the important things to remember is some of these young guys, especially those who have switched high schools a lot, especially in basketball. If a guy has a bad year or a bad few games, he may knee-jerk and say, I'm going somewhere else to play. And so you got to have a little bit of a feel
I'm
there.
I get what you're saying about that. Under those circumstances, I agree with you on that. What I disagree is when a coach leave his players after they've been recruited and go to another school. And I'll give an example. Say University of Houston. He packed up, left when the coach Texas Longhorns. So if he recruited me, why should I have a right to transfer to another school without being held out? Why the coach have all the power and the student athlete don't have none? Under those circumstances.
Because the rules weren't written to benefit the players.
Well,
the rules were written to keep the players in place, and the coaches being the adults. You know, when this whole grand scheme of college athletics was devised, I mean, the athletes were supposed to be students, and they happened to play sports along with it, and the coaches were the adults, and this was their job, and adults change jobs all the time. The idea was that a student going to a school who, oh, by the way, wants to play football or basketball is a student first and just wants to do this for the glory of playing for his school. And the idea of transferring around and hopping from school to school was never really something that was originally considered part of the game. Hang on, I'll continue with this in a moment. Okay, we're back. 800-956-7266. First pitch at Clemson at 8:30. We are now told 8:30 first pitch at Clemson, and hopefully that will hold up, and they'll be able to get that game in and underway and get a winner and move on. Florida State up on Auburn 2-0. Just to go back to what I was saying when Cockett was with us, and he has now flown the coop, as we say. Way back when, I'm speaking out of school here because I wasn't around way back when, but I imagine that the idea was, hey, we're going to have college sports featuring the students who are in our particular schools. Nobody ever envisioned that coaches were part-time guys, maybe full-time, paid very little, had second jobs. Maybe they were teachers on the side. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So nobody, back in the 10s and 20s and 30s imagined it was going to blow up like it has today and become the multi-billion-dollar industry that college sports is today. And so when the NCAA was formed, the NCAA was formed as a result of deaths in football. I think it was Teddy Roosevelt who commissioned the formation of the NCAA, if my history serves me right, because they were, playing football and all these people were dying on the football field, and they wanted some control over that, get some agency in there to control it. And so they drew up the rules, of course, and then as things moved along, I can't tell you when recruiting first started, when who was the first player to be recruited in college athletics, probably in football by somebody. Somebody went out, found a guy somewhere and said, hey, come play for my school.
Well, there you go.
And that's how it all started. And as everything, does, it evolved, and they came up with a set of rules, and the rules were put in place to keep the players in place. But, coaches are considered professionals, the adults and the professionals, and they're making a living. And it was viewed back then that a college education was plenty of payment for your athletic services, that getting your college education paid for by the school was a nice trade-off for you coming and playing ball for us.
I think only about 15 to 20% of the population at the time had a college degree.
Yeah, so a college degree was something to be cherished. And if somebody was going to pay for it, for you to go hit a ball or shoot a basket or run with the football, heck yeah. And of course, as things have developed over time, we see now that a lot of people don't believe an education paid for is enough of return on your athletic skills. And so rules have been put into place to make sure that that's the case, trying to keep, this original argument of amateur athletics in place, which, we all know that's sort of a misnomer for the sports world, for that part of the sports world today. So to get to the gist of your question or your point about, is it fair that coaches can up and move and break contracts for better jobs with no penalty, and the athletes are stuck if they sign a letter of intent and they're they try to move? I do think it's unfair that recruited by a coach and he signed and he expects to be coached by that coach, especially a position coach, and then he leaves right there on signing day or right after signing day. And we know that happens all the time. There's coaches looking at other jobs in January.
You already have them.
And they find them, but they agree to stay put through signing day, putting on this ruse of, going to be coaching you, Johnny. Can't wait to have you. And he signs that letter of intent at 7 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, and Thursday, linebacker Coach Larry is on his way somewhere else. I mean, that's unfair. And this is where coaches morph into used car salesmen. In fact, most of the year they are used car salesmen because they're recruiting. And what is recruiting? It's trying to sell a product to somebody. And in some cases, you're selling a defected product.
You're selling a dream.
Well, you're selling a product.
Mm-hmm.
But you're selling a defective. I mean, if your team is lousy, you're selling a defective product to somebody saying, come, let's make our product better with you.
Selling a dream.
Selling a dream. Well, dreams don't feed the family anymore, if you ask some people. Me personally, I think getting your college education paid for is a very nice deal. In today's world of 4 years of a college education at a public school in your own state costing you about $100,000 when everything's factored in. If somebody wants to pay that for me to go play ball for them and get a degree, if I don't get a degree, that's my fault. If I don't get a job because I don't get a degree after my college athletic career is over, that's my fault. You have to really not want to graduate. If you're a major college athlete with everything laid out for you, we're talking tutors, we're talking special buildings to go to study, we're talking classes laid out for you, whatever you need to get that degree is there at your disposal. And you don't get it done, it's either A, you're too stupid, or B, you don't care. And sometimes it's a little bit of both. But there's no excuse for it.
Well, you leave
early. And then don't turn around and blame your school when you don't have a job because you didn't get a degree, because you didn't get it done. Even after you fail, you leave and go to the pros and you flame out there for whatever reason, you don't have a job. And the money's been used up on the girlfriends and the 5 BMWs. And you're broke and you want to blame the NCAA or the system. That's your fault, Mac. It's not the system's fault. Let's go back to the phones. And it's Tippy. Tippy in Edgefield. Okay, Tippy, how are you? Welcome into Sports Talk.
I'm doing pretty good. Just a quick comment about your being amateurs and getting paid to go to college and play ball and all that. You wasn't too long ago you had to be an amateur to be on an Olympic team, and all that's changing now.
Oh yeah.
So even the amateurs, they don't even get to do Olympic stuff unless they're pretty much a pro anymore.
That's why I've lost interest. I mean, to me, the Olympics are nothing, especially from the team competition. I mean, I don't want to see NBA players in the Olympics. We got the NBA, and we have the NBA playoffs, and you have your basketball, your world championships. I mean, watching a bunch of professionals play under the guise of an Olympic championship tournament, to me, that's of no interest. I don't know about soccer. Okay.
How'd you know? My finger went up like that.
Well,
you knew I wanted to talk about soccer.
Here's our so-called soccer expert who never scored a goal in his life, by the way.
I've scored my fair share of goals. And if we want to go that route, I would gladly regale all the goals I've scored.
I guarantee you, if I was in goal and you were trying to score on me, you wouldn't score.
It's because you're half the size of the goal right there. It's not talent. That's not just
true.
Physics right there.
That's an absolute insult.
Okay.
That's just a direct insult.
All right. Well, in soccer, they cure your basketball problems here. They require that everyone be under the age of 23, with the exception of a single player. And that way you keep it as a celebration of youth tournament and the rising stars of each nation.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you eliminate these just professional players that dominate from, like in basketball, all from the United States or Argentina or Spain.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I shouldn't say, I still enjoy the swimming competition, the track and field, the individual competition like that, and the goofy sports they have, the weightlifting and the archery and that stuff hasn't really been tainted by professional teams. Now, we all know that the great athletes of those individual sports are being paid.
Oh yes,
they're making money. And I guess the United States felt like it had to move in that direction because that's what the European countries were doing, the Soviet bloc countries, the East Germans and all that back in the day.
Oh yeah, they were pros at the beginning. They were juicing too.
Yeah, that's
big
all.
Time.
Yeah, so, but I don't, like golf, the Olympic golf. I mean, that to me, there's only golf tournaments in the world that really matter, and I don't think Olympic golf, to me, is one of those. Especially when you don't have all the best players in the world participating in it. We'll be back in a moment. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. Little recruiting nugget for you. Defensive end KJ Henry out of Clemens, North Carolina, major Clemson target, was back at Georgia today for a visit there. And maybe he'll pop up at Clemson tomorrow on his way back to North Carolina, if he's headed that way, with Clemson opening up a camp tomorrow. Tigers camping on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. This week, most of their top prospects are due in on Wednesday. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter, the Twitter address is at SportsTalkSC. Clemson set to get underway at 8:30 up at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Everything seems to be moving forward towards getting that game underway. Update some others here. Bottom of the second, Southern Miss 1-0 on Mississippi State. These are all winner-take-all games now. So Southern Miss, Mississippi State, Eagles up 1-0. Missouri State and Arkansas are scoreless, top of the third. Florida State leads Auburn 2-0, top of the third. Dallas Baptist and TCU, they get started at 8 o'clock. Kentucky and NC State are in a delay. And later on tonight, Texas and the Dirtbags of Long Beach State. That is it. That is still out there. Earlier, Texas A&M beat Houston 4-3. Dallas Baptist beat Virginia 11-8. Sam Houston State beat Texas Tech 4-3. And Florida beat Bethune-Cookman 6-1. So if you're the SEC, right, you've got Florida advancing. You've got Kentucky still waiting. Auburn still waiting. Vandy still waiting. And Arkansas and Mississippi State. So you've
and Texas
A&M has already advanced, and that is it. If you're the and LSU's advanced,
right?
Yeah. If the ACC has got Wake Forest moving on, Wake Forest and Florida, that's now set as a super regional. So we have two super regionals set. Wake Forest and Florida, Texas A&M and Davidson. Louisville, another ACC team that has moved on. And then you've got the ones that are on hold, NC State, Clemson. Who else is still pending? NC State, Clemson, Florida State leading Auburn 2-0. That's it.
And there's an example of a team that was a juggernaut at one point, and then they had their drought. And here comes Wake Forest again, the Renaissance.
A drought? And more than a drought. I mean, my gosh. Didn't they play in the World Series like back in the 50s?
Oh, I'm talking about they've had a good, strong team. I'm not saying they won a World Series title. Yeah, they were the trivia answer to the trivia question.
The only ACC team to win a College World Series, right?
Until Virginia.
Until Virginia won it. That's right. Yeah.
But they had a pretty good team, back in the 90s or whatever, and then they went into just a funk.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't know where. Georgia Tech is in that same funk, I think.
Georgia Tech's on and I wonder why people aren't wondering about Danny Hall there at Georgia Tech. His name hasn't come up in terms of any sort of trouble. Now, he's 60. He'll be 63 his next birthday. Let's just take a look at what has happened with him recently. Well, hasn't been all that bad in terms of making the postseason. They last went to the World Series in 2006. Then they missed the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's been regional. They went to 7 straight regionals, but did not get to a super regional. They missed in 2015, went to a regional last year, did not make it this year. So how do you grade? And this is it is Georgia Tech, but it is a program that has had a lot of success. Runner-up in 94 in the World Series, went to the World Series in 2002, went to the World Series in 2006. But that's all under Danny. No, is that all under Danny Hall? No, that is not. Yeah, that's all under Danny Hall. I'm sorry. And I think if you go back He's been the coach there since 1994. You go back before them when Morris was the coach.
Yes.
And you have even more success.
Oh, exactly.
So,
but Mark Teixeira is not through that door. Neither is Nomar Garcia-Parra coming through that door. Both, of course, went to Georgia Tech.
And I know South Carolina people who hear these comparisons.
I don't want to hear
the ones who want a change, and they hear these comparisons and they say, "What's that got to do with us? What does that have to do with South Carolina's baseball program?" Well, what it has to do with South Carolina's program or any program is that you can have a great baseball program and have your ups and downs and still have a great program. Now, what if Clemson loses tonight? What if they lose tonight and don't make it out of the regional round 2 years in a row hosting? Does that make Monty Lee any less of an excellent coach?
No.
Of course not. It's just the nature of baseball. And I think that you keep tinkering with something, thinking that you can find something better over here. And there's plenty of evidence out there that you end up messing up your program
Ask Tennessee
for the long term.
They got
ask Tennessee is one example. As we talked about, ask Alabama, ask Auburn.
Georgia.
Ask Georgia. They fired an excellent coach when a new AD came in, and for whatever reason, they didn't hit it off. Where have they been ever since? Talking soccer, and that's what they do in Athens now. They don't talk baseball; they talk soccer because baseball is such an afterthought. Isn't that right, John Martin? And is soccer bigger on the Athens campus than baseball?
Women's soccer is bigger. Oh no, baseball's bigger than men's soccer, but women's soccer is right up there with baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you which one I went to a game of.
You don't have to tell me. I can guess.
Gym Dog.
So here
we
are at the end of the day, Monday,
and no smoke
and nothing yet. Yeah, and I don't know what's going on as far as where this thing is, and there's a process, I guess. If you're doing a review and you're the athletic director, and there's some doubt in your mind, I guess you want to take your time and do your review. Make sure you have all your ducks in a row so that when you do step out to give your decision, you're going to get hit one way or the other. If he says Chad Holbrook is my coach, I'm giving him another year or two, you're going to get slammed from one side. And if you let him go, you're going to get slammed from the other side.
Yes.
By a certain number of people. So if you're the AD, you're going to have all your information, do your due diligence, but come on already. I mean, this is going on. What, they finished up Saturday a week ago, so we're going on about 10 days after the fact of the end of the season.
Well, how do we know that the principals don't already know? But they're just trying to develop.
Now, for all we know, Chad and Tanner got together today.
Yeah, that's
for all we know. Who knows? Maybe they met today.
And not only that, as I said before, if you think this is your guy, don't come half-stepping by giving him a year. Here's the contract extension. If you don't like it, kiss it. Sometimes if you're AD.
Are you saying that to who? The coach or the fans?
No, I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So who are you telling to kiss it?
Anybody who thinks I'm making a mistake. As I said before, the greatest hire in the world I've seen is Tom Butters hiring a losing coach from Army who lost in his first 3 years, and somehow that guy morphed into Coach K.
He would never have survived at South Carolina losing his first 3 years. Never. That will do it. Follow K-Mac up at Clemson. He'll have post-game coverage for you as well. We'll see you tomorrow.